There is a sensation more powerful than money, more addictive than pleasure, more dangerous than violence, not because it destroys instantly, but because it infiltrates slowly. It doesn't scream, it whispers. The sensation of being chosen. When someone makes you believe you are unique, you ignore logic, you abandon duties, you make decisions you would never make while sober, because the human brain was not designed to deal with exceptions. Cleopatra never asked for nudes, never replied to DMs, never sold exclusive access. She didn't need to beg for attention. She organized the environment so that attention came to her. She didn't offer herself. She positioned herself as something too rare to be requested directly, and even so, men abandoned wars for her. Not ordinary men. Men trained to kill. Men used to commanding legions. Men who ruled entire territories without hesitation. Because she understood something that now moves the entire internet. Whoever controls attention controls behavior. Attention is not curiosity. It is mental energy. It is lifetime. It is emotional focus directed at a specific point. And whoever manages to monopolize that changes the course of decisions. And the world still repeats the exact same mistake. Cleopatra VII was the last pharaoh of Egypt. She ruled for 21 years, spoke 9 languages, negotiated with Rome, lost everything. She was born into a world dominated by men, empires and armies, a world where a woman in power was seen as an anomaly, and yet she survived longer than many kings armed to the teeth. But this video is not a biography. It's about how someone can turn desire into dependency, attention into power, and fascination into control, without ever using force. It's about invisible mechanisms, about psychology before psychology existed, about influence before it had a name. It's about how she built a system that still works today, only the platform has changed. Egypt, 1st century BC. The country is bankrupt, Rome is expanding, the Egyptian throne is disputed between siblings, Cleopatra is 18 years old and in exile. Egypt is no longer the glorious empire of the pyramids, it's a strategic territory being economically drained by Rome. Grain, taxes, forced alliances, a kingdom alive only in name. She needs to return to power, but she has no army, no money, no allies. She has nothing that supposedly generates real power. No traditional tools, no visible advantage. What she does have is awareness of one simple truth. Whoever controls the attention of the most powerful men in the world controls the world. Attention precedes action. Before an army marches, someone decides. Before a law exists, someone convinces. Before a war begins, someone is seduced by an idea. Julius Caesar arrives in Egypt pursuing an enemy. Cleopatra hides inside a carpet and is delivered to the palace as a gift. This is not romance. It's calculation. It's staging. It's an entrance carefully designed to break expectations. When the carpet is unrolled, she is there. It wasn't her body. It was the theatre, the audacity, the narrative. It was the risk taken in front of the most powerful man in Rome. Caesar had seen queens. He had seen beautiful women. But he had never seen someone willing to risk everything just to be seen. And that creates fascination. Cleopatra was not the most beautiful woman in Egypt. Roman historians, who hated her, made that clear. They attacked her appearance because they couldn't explain her influence. Reducing is always easier than understanding. But she had something more valuable. Presence. Presence is not learned from books. It is environmental control, knowing when to speak and when to disappear. She knew how to enter a room, how to make silence heavy, how to use voice, perfume, posture, timing, mystery. Everything about her was a message. Nothing was accidental. She knew how to create the feeling that being close to her was a privilege, and that feeling is addictive, because what she sold was not pleasure, it was meaning. Being with Cleopatra wasn't just physical desire, it was feeling part of something larger. It was standing at the center of power. It was being chosen by someone who could choose anyone. It was emotional status, borrowed identity, the feeling that your life mattered historically. Sound familiar? Today we call this the attention economy. You pay, with money, time, obsession, for the illusion of proximity. You subscribe, you like, you comment, you send messages hoping for a reply, And that waiting is the real product, not the reply. And occasionally she replies, and you feel special. Cleopatra did exactly this, just with Roman generals. Here is the paradox. Cleopatra was one of the most educated people in the ancient world. She studied philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, rhetoric. She understood politics, symbols, national narratives. But she knew raw knowledge doesn't move people. Her greatest weapon was never intellect. It was her ability to make powerful men feel unique, while playing the same game with several at once. Mass-distributed emotional exclusivity. Caesar believed he was special to her. After his death, Mark Antony believed the same. They believed it because they wanted to, because the ego demands constant confirmation, and both paid a high price. Because the problem with fascination isn't fascination itself, it's the dependency it creates. Mark Antony was a respected general, a strategist, a politician. But beside Cleopatra, he became something else, an obsessed man. Obsession is not love, it's loss of autonomy. He abandoned campaigns, ignored Rome, made irrational decisions, all to stay close to her. And when you build power on someone else's attention, you become hostage to that attention. Rome did not tolerate it. Rome never tolerates narratives it cannot control. Octavian, future Emperor Augustus, turned Mark Antony into an example of what happens when a man loses control. He didn't attack Cleopatra directly. He attacked the idea of her. He spread the narrative that she was a witch, a foreign manipulator, a moral threat. Because destroying reputation is more efficient than destroying armies. He turned Mark Antony into a victim of seduction, and it worked. Because it's easier to blame the woman who fascinates than the man who chose to be fascinated. The Battle of Actium, 31 BC, was the end. Mark Antony lost. Cleopatra fled. Both committed suicide. But before dying, Cleopatra tried the same strategy with Octavian, and for the first time, it failed. Because Octavian didn't want to be fascinated. He wanted power, and he understood that fascination was the weapon, not the woman. If you like using history to understand the patterns that still move the world today, power, desire, control, illusion, subscribe to the channel. Here, we don't romanticize characters. We question mechanisms. Today, Cleopatra wouldn't need a carpet. She'd have 40 million followers. She'd be called an icon, empowered, visionary. She'd sell courses on magnetic presence, run an exclusive content platform. She'd generate desire without ever delivering full satisfaction. Because satisfaction kills fascination. And this isn't criticism, it's observation. Because the method works. It always has. Adult content creators understand this better than anyone. The product is not the body. It's the illusion of access. You're different. I replied only to you. I wish you were here. Phrases that create emotional dependency, that make you return, that make you pay. Cleopatra understood this 2,000 years ago. She built an empire on a simple promise. If you stay close to me, you will matter. And powerful men, generals, emperors, leaders, fell. Because everyone wants to feel special, even knowing they aren't. Mark Antony abandoned a war to stay with Cleopatra. Today we'd call that unfollowing real life to spend more time on OnlyFans. Same logic, fewer tunics. Cleopatra died at 39. Her kingdom was annexed by Rome. Her children were killed or exiled. And she entered history as the seductress, not as the strategist, not as the leader, not as the woman who kept Egypt independent for 2 decades during Roman expansion, but as someone who used charm, because it's easier to reduce female power to the body than to acknowledge tactical intelligence, and that hasn't changed either. Cleopatra didn't invent anything. She simply understood an uncomfortable truth. Desire generates attention. Attention generates control. Control generates power, and power generates envy, hatred, destruction. Her mistake wasn't using this logic. It was believing she could control it forever. Because fascination is fragile. It lasts only while you are inaccessible. The moment you give everything away, you lose value. It's cruel, but it's real. And if you look around, social media, relationships, influence, politics, you'll see the same pattern repeating endlessly. People selling attention, others buying the illusion of proximity, and in the end, everyone paying the price. Cleopatra died, but the system she mastered is still alive. Different clothes, different language, same logic. And maybe the real question isn't, Why did she do this? But why does it still work?